again and welcome to another edition of the BAMREF Show. It is a warm welcome back to the BAMREF Chairman, Joel Mannix, and I'm pleased to say that we have in the studio our first ever non-referee VIP guest, Yashmin Harun. Now, Yashmin was named in the Queen's New Year's Honours List in 2020 and awarded a British Empire Medal for increasing BAME representation in sport. She's now an FA councillor. She has been for a number of years now, and she is a staunch supporter of opportunities for women in football. She recently added a position working with the Independent Football Regulator to her portfolio, and I'm pleased to have her in the studio. Welcome, Yashmin, on the BAMREF Show this week. The AFCON final, what can we learn from the scenes that marred a showpiece? Ola Aina, the Nottingham Forest defender, appeared to handle the ball in the box in Saturday's game between Forest and Arsenal, but the spot kick wasn't given. Was that the right decision? Diogo Dalot and the red card that wasn't. We'll take a look at whether we ended up defending the indefensible at the weekend. But let's start with you, Yash. How did it all start? When did it all start? Why did you decide that you wanted to become a warrior for women's opportunities in football?
Yeah, I had no intention. It was all by accident. I grew up sort of loving football. I have two older brothers and heavily involved in football, and I just grew up playing football with them, with their mates, and continued in school.
Football?
Yeah, I used to play
what position?
Midfield. And I grew up in Scotland. I was born in Manchester, but grew up in Scotland. Then moved down from Scotland to London, and then went to an all-girls school and realised that nobody in the school wanted to play football, or they didn't have a school club. So I started the school club, was in the Newlands under-16 league, started that with pestering my business studies teacher. And then obviously life happens, gets in the way. Started college or sixth form, started my A-levels, got married very, very young. And after a number of years, I was just missing that sort of sports element of football. So I just wanted to start something for myself. Was looking for a female-only football session, didn't find anything. Started working with the FA, or the Essex FA at the time, to see whether or not they would help us set something up. They didn't have any female coaches that were local to our area. So then I set up basketball, and I just forgot about it. And after, I was still really missing playing football, and I was finding that not many women were interested in football. They thought it was a sport that they couldn't or shouldn't be accessing, especially from our community. It wasn't something that they grew up with that opportunity to even try and kick a ball. Or
what year would we be talking about?
99, 2001 sort of time. So yeah, I just wanted to get back into football, and then I started having conversations with Sporting Equals. There was a guy there called Mark who was really, really supportive, and then he got me in touch with Essex FA and London Sport, and we started working together to see how we can create a tailored level 1 coaching course for Muslim women or women from the community, but try to engage them so it worked for them. So it took 2 years from that first conversation to try and get something started up, and what we decided to do is break up the typical FA level 1 course, which at the time was face-to-face delivery, and you had to go there to do the course. So you had to find a local course and go to them to do the course and complete it. What we decided to do is do it at a local mosque. So find a female tutor, deliver at a local mosque, and break it down into segments that were manageable. And then we finally got 16 women from the local community, including my female coach, which is Yashmin Hussain, who's doing really, really well at the moment. And she was part of that course, and yeah, that's how it all started really. And plus my son was playing football from the age of 5. I didn't really notice that at the time, that everyone around me was white. There was no Asians in his team. I was the only mum on the sidelines with a hijab, the only Asian woman there, and they all assumed that I didn't know anything about football. I used to get questioned quite a lot, but when they saw me sort of like, as mums do, as my parents do, would shout instructions to your child, wouldn't you? And the rest of the team, unfortunately. So, yeah, I used to do quite a bit of that. And then I got an email, or I saw something, I think, from Kevin Coleman at the time. He was working for the FA, and he's inviting me to the West Ham South Asians in football conference. I think it was one of the first ones he started, and I just went down and I was quite, I questioned quite a lot of things that they were trying to do, and he invited me to be involved with that, sort of get more involved with South Asian football planning and what we can do to try and increase that representation. And it was all by accident, really.
Sure. I want to go right back to the start of what you were saying. How did your parents feel about you playing sport?
I was quite a tomboy, so my mum wasn't too happy because at the time we only had one television, and Sky Sports was relatively new, and my brother paid for Sky Sports, and then my mum and me would fight over her ZTV channel, which was the Asian channel, and me watching football. But my dad was really supportive, so I'd go out watching wrestling, boxing, football, Olympics, Wimbledon, everything with my dad. But my mum wasn't too happy.
So could you have done a different sport given you'd watched so many with your dad?
I used to be quite sporty at school, so he used to take me to cross country, to the athletics competitions. I was quite a good runner, so I was a 100-metre runner and relay runner as well. So he'd support me on that.
Yeah.
But it was when we moved down. I grew up in Scotland, which was obviously everyone was white with the only Asian family there, and there wasn't that community thing of like, oh, people's going to talk. You're a Muslim girl, you shouldn't be doing this kind of sports. You shouldn't be involved playing football with the boys, and so he didn't have that sort of like it burning his ear.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? Because if you had been in a more diverse area, as you said, surrounded by more people of a similar culture, then it could have been more difficult for you.
Yeah.
But as you say, given where you were, it ironically was a lot easier. Were there any difficulties?
The school was a difficulty actually, because the uniform was to wear shorts, and my dad didn't allow me to wear shorts.
Of course, yeah.
So we had to go in and explain it to the teachers that, you know, for my religion purposes, I wasn't allowed to wear shorts.
Yeah.
And that one teacher was very adamant that I had to wear shorts. So I couldn't take part in PE.
Male or female teacher?
Female.
Wow.
Yeah, female. Do you remember Grange Hill?
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy, PE teacher?
Yeah.
She was the female equivalent. so I ended up I really hated PE because she wouldn't allow me to play.
Were you disappointed by the lack of solidarity from a female teacher?
Yeah, she just didn't understand. I mean, all I wanted to do was play in tracky bottoms, and it wasn't affecting the way I was participating.
Yeah.
And at the time I didn't wear the hijab, so that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
It was all I wanted to do was wear tracky bottoms.
It's interesting actually, because one of the questions I had lined up to ask you was whether, and I don't know if you feel the same, Joel, whether you felt or identified that as an area where so many other young girls struggle with their interest in sport, when you have teachers at schools who are completely unsympathetic about the religious restrictions that you have to, restrictions, I would call it a more respectful name, maybe there is a more appropriate term to use, but the areas where you really have to be mindful of your religion, but those teachers don't want to be.
Yeah, I don't know what it was like to grow up in London at the time, obviously very diverse, but I think schools were like, oh, the religion says they can't do PE, so let's allow it, we don't want to have any confrontation with them, so we won't force them to do PE if that's not what they want to do. Whereas when I moved down to London, a new head teacher started. I see her every time now. She's, I have so much respect for her. She's one of my role models. She came in and changed the whole thing around the school. So it was an all-girls school. Majority were Muslims, and what she wanted to do was change that perception that Muslim girls weren't allowed to do anything. Yeah. So a lot at the time, also I got married young, and that was at a time where a lot of the Muslim girls were getting married young, and she wanted to change that. She wanted us to get education, have skills in IT. She got the brand new computers for all of us to learn IT skills, because obviously it was changing at the time. Swimming, she wanted to make that an option, so she spoke to the local swimming centre and said, they have to wear leggings. Otherwise the parents won't allow them to do swimming. So she made those conversations happen. Whereas I think previous head teachers just thought, I don't want any issues, I don't want to have any fights with the parents, and if they say then the children are not allowed to do PE, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say, okay, sit them out.
Joel, do you find that when you, as BAMREF chair, you're trying to recruit, you want to increase the diversity. The BAMREF as an organisation has a 243 campaign to get more women, Black and Asian mixed heritage women into referee. Are the things that Yashmin has just highlighted obstacles that you've come across?
No, because I'm not a woman. So the obstacles which I would get as a black man, they're very different to a Muslim woman. But I do admire the fact that, you know, you were or are a sporty mum and you are a sporty person. But one of the questions which I did want to ask was with hearing your story was, yes, there were, as I would say, blockages, but how did that make you overcome? What did you do to overcome them? And to our listeners which are listening in, and some of them are Muslim, we have Muslim referees, male and female, what would you say to overcome some of the problems? How would you go around it?
You know, some people have described me as an activist, but I've never ever seen myself as an activist. All I wanted to do was make differences for my community and give them the opportunities. And I don't just do football. MSA, the charity that I run, which is Muslim Sports Association, offers 15 different sports a week. So that includes badminton, football, swimming, karate, yoga. And we've done dragon boat racing, we've done golf, we've done rowing. I wanted them to have an opportunity doing sports that they probably never had the opportunity. I had a 75-year-old woman learn how to cycle because she was never allowed to learn how to ride a bike because her father thought it was a boys' sport. Women shouldn't be allowed to learn how to ride.
And it's brilliant, but how do you overcome them? How do you, I mean, your name's thrown in as an activist. You're like, no, that's not me. I just want everyone. So how do you get around that?
I just say this activist thing, they always call us, don't they, if we're trying to just make the world better for other people, activists.
Yeah.
You get other cultures and races and demographics who do the same job. And they just say, oh, they're great. You know, but if we do that,
we get labelled.
Yeah, they find that strange.
Yeah. And all I wanted to do was, it was selfish because I wanted to play football. I wanted to get back into football. And because I faced some health issues after my second son, I put on weight and wanted to get active again, but I hated the gym.
Yes.
So I missed that sort of friendship. I missed that friendship that you get from playing in sports and that buzz you get when scoring a goal and winning games. So it was really from a selfish point of view that I started and wanted to get back into playing something. And the way when I realised that there were obstacles, you know, I'd walk into a room, I'd go into a networking event and I'd walk into a room and I was the only female, mostly the only female in there, but then I was the only female who was wearing a hijab, the only female that was brown, and you're thinking, what the hell is wrong here? Because they're making decisions on our behalf and they're not consulting us. They're calling us hard to reach, but you're not asking us what they need to do to make it easier to play. And I thought, I need to get in there. And that's where Kevin Coleman was instrumental because he asked me to do this FA on the board program, which was, you know, giving me the skills to get on the board at some organisation that I wanted to. And to be honest, I was working in the bank and I had 2 young children. I didn't have time to be on the board. I'd never even thought I'd be able to get on the board. I didn't think I had the skill set to do it. And it was just me wanting to make opportunities for my community. There were some women that had played sports in school and then, like me, didn't have the opportunity to pursue it. There were women came into this country who played badminton, really skillful badminton players. If they were given the opportunity to play and progress it, they could have been, you know, represent their countries. Do you know what I mean? The passion that they have, and when you see that, you've provided that opportunity for them to come back and play badminton or come and play and kick a ball for the first time, and the joy that they have on their faces, you've created that.
Yes.
All you've done is hire a hall and find a coach for them, and you get a buzz from that. So, you know, it's not hard, but I think what governing bodies needs to do is understand that you need to adapt the sport to make the community get involved. It's not about the community coming to you. Sometimes it's about you going to the community and adapting what's already there.
One of the points that I wanted to ask you was, maybe I'm skipping the gun a bit, forgive me, is you're a member or you are of the independent football?
I work for the independent football regulator now.
So what's your role?
So as I said, I was in banking for 27 years.
Okay.
And I wanted to get more.
Any good banking organisations?
What's that?
Any good banking organisations?
I was at Barclays for 12.
No, for me.
For you?
Not for Sorry, just got worried.
No, I was capable of banking. But and then I just thought I want to do something I enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I just want to enjoy my working life. You're there all the time. So football regulator was something that I thought, I can try and make a difference. It's all about the fans. It's all about making football better for the fans. And I just wanted to see whether or not I can. And I'm really enjoying it so far. So
It's a new role, right?
it's a new role. It's a new organisation. They've just got their licensing powers put in place. And we're developing, and it's very fast paced at the moment. So, yeah, it's an exciting place to be at the moment.
You've left secondary school. You can't find a safe space to continue to participate in sport as a Muslim. And so you stopped playing sport. Do you find that's still the case now for young girls?
Yeah, I
across
think
the
so.
country?
I think there's many girls who obviously don't have an MSA local to them. We're very much London based, so there's a lot of
the Sports Association.
Yeah, so a lot of them just don't have that space where they can continue to play sports that they love in an environment that they feel safe, because they'd have to go in and challenge them to wear the tracksuit bottoms or the hijab, so they don't feel they can, and they sort of like give up on that until they do find a safe space when they grow up.
How many young teenagers would you say you're talking about?
There could be hundreds, there could be thousands. Obviously, I don't know the numbers, and the FA are doing really well in terms of trying to raise awareness, and they're working with schools, they're working with clubs to say, the hijab is safe. They've obviously gone out and given free hijabs to people and said it's safe, and they allow for tracksuit bottoms to be worn as well now. So there is that awareness being raised, but sometimes it's the clubs, sometimes it's the coaches, and sometimes it can be the referee. We had an incident back end of last year, I think, or last season, where the referee said no, they can't wear tracksuit bottoms. It's about education.
So how did you encounter that problem?
I wasn't directly involved, but the FA were involved, and they obviously resolved it and educated the referee that the rules had changed. There was a bit of guidance communication. I think they got the old guidance, the referee, and the new guidance had been issued. So there was a bit of a miscommunication.
Just play that one out for us in terms of the hijab and playing football. What are the rules around that?
Well, the old ones were, as I said, the old football laws were that they weren't allowed to have to wear hijabs and different head coverings. I think there was with the snoods which came in, and they said no, all of this is now banned. But I believe now the snoods, they're still banned, but the hijabs are allowed. They are trying to welcome in football for all. As such, I know that's part of UEFA's policy, football for all, with the foundations that they're doing, and they don't see it as a cultural issue that you shouldn't be able to play football, whereas that used to be, let's say back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, where that was a problem, where it's changed now.
Yeah, I mean, I find it really striking that up to thousands of girls could suddenly get to a point where they say, right, that's it, goodbye from me, because I can't wear the hijab. I remember Khadija Mella in horse racing, winning a race, the first ever woman winning a horse race with a hijab. I don't know why I'm holding my down. But that was so inspiring, and I just feel that it must be so disheartening to see so many young girls turn their backs on a sport they could be a part of.
Yeah, and I think for our club at Brentford and MSA, we're getting a lot of spotlight, a lot of positive news, but it always ends up getting a lot of negative comments as well. So recently we were covered by Channel 4 News, but the comments on the Facebook page was like, send them back to their country. I mean, what country? We're born and bred here, so we don't have a country to go back to. What are you talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
So those kind of positive news is always then encountered with really nasty comments. And if the young girls are reading those, or even the parents, they're like it's disheartening, right? It's like you feel deflated, and you're thinking, well, if my daughter does pursue a career in football, is it worth all this hatred that's going to follow her? So there's that. How much do you fight and how much do you continue? Is it possible to have a life within football? Or do you just allow them to play football up to a certain extent and then they've got to go and get another career?
What's the answer?
I think until somebody breaks through and there is real change, somebody has to be brave enough to continue to make that, to break through.
Is that you?
Not playing football, unfortunately.
No, I'm just saying, pushing the change, pushing for the
But
change.
I hope I've made some difference, and I hope people who I've left the door open for other people to say, you know, if I could make it when I had no sort of skills or sort of like intention to go this far, I hope people, young girls, will look at me and say, you know, if I work really hard, they can also make a huge difference as well.
It's very similar to what you told me the first time I ever met you.
Yeah.
If you can see it.
You can be it. Yeah.
And I would imagine that must be
it's a
meant
cliche,
for
but it's actually very true, right?
If you can't see it.
Yeah, if we see someone in that role who's making a difference, a genuine intention to make a difference, an unselfish difference, then I think it's possible for a young girl to say, actually, I want to do what she's doing.
Have you come across any moments that have made you feel this is just a thankless task?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you sit in a room and it goes back to square one, and you're thinking, is ED&I just a tick box? Just because you have these conversations in a room, and then they talk about all the agenda items, and then they add on ED&I as an add-on.
Oh, yes.
And we've all been in that situation, right?
Yeah.
It's like we've talked about everything else, and then ED&I has been added on just for that tick box.
Any
And
other
you're
reasons?
thinking, ED&I should be golden thread throughout everything you do.
Absolutely.
And when are we going to get to that point?
And in terms of yourself, have you had young girls say, listen, I appreciate all that you're doing, but that's it from me?
I've had men say that about ED&I, about South Asians generally, because we've been fighting the fight for a long time,
Yes.
and there's been others that have been fighting for much longer than I have, and they're fed up because they're still not shifted. They're not seeing the dial shift from when they first started, and they're fed up. And I've had to say to them, look, we're making small changes, we're making small steps. It's going to take a long time, but if you give up, then who are we leaving the door open for? Nobody's going to come through that door.
Yashmin, what are the areas and the issues that strike you now when you look across the sporting landscape for women and girls?
I think we've made huge strides. I mean, the Euros win for the Lionesses increased women's football phenomenally. You know, girls started getting interested in football, and it's opened that door for girls to step into football. Diversity still has an issue. The Lionesses is still not very diverse, but I think that's still going to take a little bit of time for that talent pathway to come through. But I think there have been some differences made. There have been differences made within coaching as well. I mean, there's a lot of FA programs that are trying to get more diverse coaches in. Referees are trying. It's going to take time. Obviously, referees get a lot of sticks, so women are a bit more, especially from our community, a bit more scared to step into that role. They have to be very thick-skinned. And you know, the younger girls will be stepping into that role, but if you ask women of my age to step into that role, I think they'd be more reserved to do that.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be patient, but I don't think we shouldn't give up, because these things do take time and we have to drive it out. I think if we give up, then it's just telling people to just forget about it. The more of us in that room, the more voices are being heard, and we have to get into that room. And we can complain all we want from the outside, but if you're not in that room influencing change and influencing decisions, there's not going to be any change.
But when you used to go to referee organisations, regional meetings, and you were the only black person in the room, did you ever think it would change?
No. And the reason why I say, because sometimes you have the ideas and the people that are in the rooms, I don't know if this sometimes comes to you, and you have an idea and it's perfect, and they have the ability to change it, but they're scared to change it. And I'm like, what? Why? And that's some of the bits which I can't comprehend, and sometimes I find that some of the meetings are a waste of time, or just a tick box exercise, because you're going there and you know you're going there with no change, because it's like, you'll come out with a criteria. You'll say, this is what we're going to do. Then you'll go and sit in this meeting, and they'll think and they'll hear and they'll take those points away. And then when you come back for your follow-up, it's like someone's found ways in which not to, or to still stop the progress from going. You're like, yeah, but if you just do it this way, then but what about this? And there always seems to be that door. One door opens, another one closes, and it's like, right, let me go through this one, and it's still closed again. And it's like, yeah, one day they're going to get tired. That is sometimes.
I asked Yashmin about teenage girls walking away. Have you come across young men, young boys who have thought this is too much for you?
I've even thought sometimes it's too much for me. So let alone going through it. I spoke to somebody the other day, and they were like, I've had enough. I should have been promoted. And I was like, no, you can't, because I know exactly how you felt. And I said, remember, I finished 13th, and they took 18. Yeah? And there's someone to say, yeah, but I finished second, and they still haven't taken me.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, I get your point, but you still got...
But sometimes, in that situation, how do you make them feel better for themselves?
You can't.
You can't, isn't it?
You can't make
Words
them feel better. You can't make them feel better, but it's just the ways where you just say, well, what's the point? And I go back to them and I say to them, that's the whole point of them making sure you finish second, so you're not there. So if you don't want to do it, you've had a good innings, you've had a good run, but you're better than that.
Yeah.
And you then it becomes a pep talk to them, and then off they go again, and it's just I finish second again.
Yeah, I mean, take South Asian plan, for example. We wanted it to be a strategy, and it continues to be a plan. I think whilst it's a plan, there are changes being made, there are progress being made, but not sufficient.
Not quick enough.
Not quick enough. If it's a strategy, it becomes a bit higher up on the importance of it being achieved. And I think until it gets there, we're still going to be talking about the same issues. We're still talking about the same challenges. And I don't, somebody needs to grab hold of it and say, look, this is what we're going to do with it. And this is the difference we're going to make. And this is the KPIs or the timelines that we need to meet all these targets by. At the moment, it's a nice to have plan. And let's just chug along with it.
And I get that, and it's a plan which some people don't want change. And sometimes you're sitting in a room where they don't want change because they don't know what it looks like. And I respect that, but they don't ask for change. It's a two-edged sword. Yeah, you're asking for change, you're asking for society change, you're asking for this change, but yet you don't really want to change. You can take it into different things, and you can say, for instance, when the ERDP board started first, and we said, okay, there has to be 30% of black and brown referees, and this was part of the criteria. When it first started with 15 referees, so there was 30% because there was five or six that were from black and brown refereeing. Brilliant. Now it's moved. The year's extended. Are we still at 30%? No, we're not. But then the conversations that are there are saying, well, let's bring it down to 25. Why?
So they can meet the target.
Yeah, but they can meet the target.
So move from red to amber.
Yeah, but they can meet the target if people did their jobs.
But I just feel that's the thing with KPIs, right? It's you setting the target.
Female footballers have had to come out and speak out. There's a legal case that's concluded now involving an individual who had placed the safety of a number of people at risk in that kind of environment. How hard do you have to work to be able to purge the game of that kind of individual?
It is difficult because obviously when you say safe environment, what we're speaking about is for a woman in a hijab or who wears the abaya, which is the long dress, to feel safe to come in and then take that hijab off and abaya off she has to know and understand that no man is going to walk in during that session.
Right.
So we need to reassure her, and also that there's no cameras within the venue, and any glass is all covered up. So we find it really hard to find venues that doesn't have a gallery. We have to speak to the caretakers to make sure they understand that they can't walk into our session unless it's an emergency. And we've been quite lucky. For MSA, we've built up really good trust with our venues, and we've explained to them that, during the session, there's no way you're allowed to come in. If you need to come in, you need to phone the coach before you walk in and allow time for the women to get covered up again. So these are the reassurances that we're providing for our women. But I know for a lot of places where we've had, swimming, we'll say female-only swimming, but then the lifeguard is a man. So it doesn't really make sense. So then women are not turning up to these sessions. And then the venue people will say, oh, we tried, but, women weren't turning up. Well, they weren't turning up because you've got a male lifeguard on working there. So, you have to really engage with your community to understand what the barriers are and what they need to do to make it safe. So if you need to increase the female lifeguards, then put out some courses. Try to get more female lifeguards. Try to increase the female coaches in your area. Support them, support the workforce, because without the workforce you can't then deliver. It's the same with the referees. If you don't have the referees, you can't play football. So, everything is connected.
I've asked you all about the negatives, and there are many, but there are also positives as well. Inspire me. Tell me about one of the stories from your time setting up MSA, going on to work with the administrations, effectively. What's been a story that you tell that most inspires you about the work that you've done so far?
I think I've mentioned it before, just seeing their sheer joy in their faces coming in, and then the messages that you receive afterwards, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and try and play, coming back to badminton, I haven't played it for 20 years or haven't played it since school, or giving me the opportunity to play football. Don't have a clue what the offside rule is, but I don't care because I can play football.
Plus the medal as well, the MBE medal,
Well, we were getting to that. The British Empire medal.
Yeah.
The burning question that we wanted to know is, what's Buckingham Palace like?
It's like my backyard. No, it was so surreal. It was so surreal.
And that's how you found out what your reaction was.
So I got the letter. It was a bit bittersweet actually, because I got the letter in 2019 November, and my mum had been taken. She was in hospital. She'd been diagnosed with cancer. So obviously I'm very excited. Told my mum. But you can't announce it until the 1st of January, so you have to keep really quiet. So I really told my mum, I wasn't allowed to, but I told my mum. So yeah, it was really exciting. I mean, I don't know who nominated me still to this day, but thank you to the person who nominated me. But it was really shocked because you don't think that you're doing, this activist role or you're serving anyone. You're just doing it because you find that you're making people happy, and that makes you happy. And if you're making that small difference to someone's life, then that's all that you want. That's all the reward that you want. So yeah, it was a nice surprise. And then going to Buckingham Palace, my husband, and I should mention him because without him being my rock, I wouldn't have been able to achieve all of this. So he used to look after the boys. He ferries me to all these places that I need to go to. He's been my rock, so I took him to Buckingham Palace as well. So yeah, it was nice. It was pouring down with rain as well. It was the worst possible day to go to, so I was soaking wet. They had the marquees up for the sandwiches and everything. Nice cup of tea and everything, but it was nice. Yeah, I got to meet Prince Charles and Camilla.
Okay.
Obviously King Charles now. But yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. Do you feel that you still have specific missions that you want to fulfill?
Yeah, the South Asians in football is a huge thing that I want to achieve. I want to increase representation, and it's happening in small pockets. The women's game is changing. You see a few more female representation there, but when they reach the England team, that's when I'll be sort of like, yes, we've made it. And I think it will happen in the women's team more faster than the men's team.
Let's do BAMREF Watch. Right, now BAMREF Watch with a difference this week because we are recording this the day after the AFCON final, and there has been much to discuss from that showpiece. We saw a number of incidents that stemmed from the award of a late penalty that the Senegalese players and their head coach Pape Thiaw reacted particularly badly to. He led them off the pitch. Before that, they'd had what appeared to be a legitimate goal ruled out. And then we saw scenes in the post-match press conference where the head coach of Senegal was booed by what appeared to be the Moroccan journalistic contingent, and he would come in with his daughter, and that didn't really spare him from that. And there'd also been incidents on the pitch as well, which we won't talk too much about. What we will focus on, first of all, and this is where you take centre stage, Joel, the refereeing decisions, the first of which was the Senegal goal ruled out by the referee. Now, my understanding is that he blew the whistle before the ball had gone into the net, and that's why VAR could not intervene. Is that right? So it is true that if a referee blows the whistle,
Play stops.
play stops.
Yes.
Rather than the ball goes into the net.
He should have waited.
Yeah.
Delay, and then he could have then made a decision, because then he can always disallow the goal.
So because he didn't wait.
Because he didn't wait. Yeah.
Okay.
Good referee, and they would have said, wait to see what happens.
Mm.
And you see that coming in now, whereas sometimes they'll wait and they say it's offside. Why don't they just blow? But they're waiting to see what that passage of play is, and sometimes they have waited, and the person's been onside, so it's a goal. So it's it swings and roundabouts. What do we want?
Can say they're going to review the footage of what we saw in the game and after the game to decide if any punishments will be given out. The players of Senegal left the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
As a referee, at what point do you decide to abandon the game,
Well,
if at all?
I would have left because there was crowd trouble. I would have said, and if I was the referee, I would have said everyone's coming off the pitch,
Right.
because there's crowd trouble. But then it's good refereeing, because there was, the fans, some of the fans were starting to fight with the police.
Mm.
So I would have said, listen, both teams are off. Come off. Let's take it away. Fans aren't too happy with this.
Mm.
And then brought them back on. The referee he wasn't expecting this to happen. He's going to have to live with that. He just thought he was going out to referee a game and it'd be normal. One team winner. He didn't expect that there'd be politics with this game.
Well, again, take politics out. The penalty award for that sparked the whole thing off.
I think it's the disallowing of the goal first and then giving the penalty after.
I actually agree with you. I think that was a penalty. It may have been soft, but I think it was a penalty.
If you took the players off, or if the players walked out, doesn't the referee then have to make a decision? And this is what a lot of the noises...
Depends what the competition rules are.
Okay.
So the referee is there just to officiate the game. Okay? The rules for that competition would be there. I'm sure he didn't read up on that schedule to say, if there's no team and you need to do this, then he was just, what do I do? I think he was waiting for the information to come through himself. Do I believe a referee goes out there to make a bad decision? No, I don't. Because he can't foretell what the future's holding. He just sees that decision and he referees and he calls it accordingly.
I'm only going to do two other pieces of BAMREF this week, one of which is the Ola Aina handball. Now, Ola Aina, the defender for Nottingham Forest, is on the touchline to the right of his own goal. The ball is about to go out of play. He appears to the naked eye to scoop it back into play. Yashmin's already laughing. To be fair, I was laughing too because I couldn't understand it. He put out a social media post involving a famous wrestler who and a song "I Lie, I Cheat, I Steal," and it would appear from that social media post that he was maybe being a little bit sarcastic. That's just my interpretation. I don't know what's in his mind, but what I do know is that to me it looked to be a stone cold penalty.
There's a few decisions this weekend anyway, isn't it? That was questionable.
Yeah, indeed.
So, do you think VAR has made it worse though for referees? Has it made it harder for them to call out the black and white decisions?
I think that VAR is as subjective as the decision making on the pitch.
Yeah.
And what you've done is you've moved dubious decision making on the pitch to a referee's booth, and you've just got another level. It's just same decisions, just with a TV monitor, because very often the evidence of everyone else's own eyes is basically disbelieved, and they bring all things like clear and obvious and referee's call, and none of them make the slightest bit of difference when it comes to making a bad decision.
I think what happens is, because there's some certain games, there's some senior referees which are refereeing, they don't want to be perceived as VAR's helps them.
Yes.
So the information which comes through and the information which they might give at the time is, you don't come in unless it's a stone ball, I've got it absolutely wrong. Okay? And that's the information which comes in. I've been told that. So if they know who's in the booth, then they'll say, listen, unless I've made a massive boo-boo, do not come in.
So what you're saying is that VARs are sometimes too scared to overrule referees.
Dependent on who the referee is.
But isn't that defeating the purpose of VAR?
Well, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
It does, but listen, I'm just saying, and I've spoken to referees, so it's not a case of, I don't know what I'm talking about, it's, I've been told
Okay,
this.
so did you think that the Ola Aina handball was handball?
Well, listen,
You're an Arsenal fan.
I'm an Arsenal, and I'm going to say it, right? If you've played the game, you know what he was doing, yeah? He's chested the ball's gone out of play, he's tried to keep it back into play so it doesn't go with whether it's his arm
No, not whether, with his...
No, well, I'm just saying, whichever part of the body that he contacted, we came into contact, yeah? So
With his
arm, yeah. So I know, you've done it. The ball's come in, hit you, it hasn't meant to, you're trying to play it back in.
So it was a...
I'm saying it was a penalty. I'm saying it's a penalty, yeah,
Got it,
because I'm
yeah.
an Arsenal fan, yeah? I'm saying it's a penalty. But I can see, when I'm hearing it's normal, I'm like, what? And I'm just like, okay, no problem. It was.
There's been softer penalties given.
But there has been softer penalties, and I get it. But it's not normal. You don't chest the ball because the ball's going out. He doesn't want the corner because he knows
Arsenal
are very strong at their corners.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would just let the ball go out.
Yes. Diogo Dalot's tackle of Jeremy Doku, the lunchtime game between United and City. Now, the referee Anthony Taylor produced a yellow card for Diogo Dalot, but every ex-professional that has watched that tackle is of the opinion that it was a red card challenge. Studs on Doku's knee at a high point of his leg, and it wasn't a glancing blow without excessive force, as Craig Paulson had said. Joel.
Do you know what?
I love the way you have a little chuckle because you've got to deal with all the hard ones.
No, I kind of agree with Tails on this, to Taylor on this.
Tails?
Yeah, I agree with it.
Mates,
Mates. Tails, got you, mate. But no, I actually agree with you because, listen, it's quick. Everyone knows Doku's quick, yeah? So the player's coming, he's trying to go left, he's trying to go right, the ball's there, the ball's bouncing, because the ball isn't low, the ball's bouncing, yeah? So it's not a case of where the ball's not just there, the ball's bouncing, so he's come in to try and make the challenge and the tackle. Yeah, he wants to leave something on him, but for me, it's a yellow card. I don't think he's got...
Does he not endanger the safety of an opponent?
No. Come on, he's come in.
I've got to agree because I'm a United supporter. So
The floor is yours.
if you saw in real time, the impact isn't as bad as some of the other tackles that are going really hard. So in real time, it wasn't as hard, and I don't think it was intentional.
I think it was more knee on knee. That's what I think. From the time his leg's there, his knee on his knee, that's where it's come in. It's not. Yeah, I'm not.
I think yellow was
the right
justifies
time.
it. Yeah.
100%.
We are looking at an image of Dalot's left
Yeah, but that's a
leg.
still image,
Because
right?
it's still, and the ball's up.
But
It's
it
not.
just tells us what the...
No.
Yeah, but look at where the ball is.
That's
That's
what I
what
said.
Joel was saying. The ball is
where he's trying to make contact.
Mark Halsey, on this image on social media, has said, and I quote, "If Dalot was shown a red, he could have had no complaints."
But he wasn't. But look where the ball is. As I said, the ball was bouncing. He's gone intent in order to
I don't even think he's sort of like held back when he's assuming that the ball's gone.
No, but he stopped.
He could have gone in much harder, and that would have been red.
Yeah, but what he wants to do, he doesn't want Doku to get that ball under, because then he's running backwards. So he's trying to, when that ball comes to him, the ball's still bouncing. Let me put a challenge in quickly before he gets it under, as he is touring football.
But how can we speculate that? This is what I don't
Because I'm
understand.
talking from a footballer's point of view.
Yeah, but you can't possibly know what's in his mind.
No, because I'm saying it from when I've played the game and I've been defended.
But you still can't apply
No,
that.
but I'm saying, here what I'm saying is, from when I've played the game, the last thing you want as you've played in defence is for that ball to be under, because then you've got a problem. If they're quick, then you've got a problem. When I was playing football and that ball's bouncing, I would get those challenges coming into me, because once I pushed it past the defender, I'm gone. And he doesn't want that, because now he's there running and he's going to lose that.
And I think what Anthony Taylor's done there, he knows it's a massive game, it's a derby. If it sent off Dalot, it would have spoiled the whole game.
Yes.
And it's good game management from the referee.
Okay.
Leave it there.
Well, it should have been more.
Should
But
have been 5. I'll take a 5. In my head it was 5-0.
two of them were offside, but one of them.
As you can see, we've given the last word to Yashmin, and she's used it very wisely indeed. I'm sure there's not more Manchester United after we close off the show, but that is it for the show. Big thanks to you, Yashmin,
Thank you.
for agreeing to
Thank
come
you very
on the
much.
show. That's really good fun, and obviously to have you back. Great to see you again, Joel. And also to you for spending your afternoon with us. This has been the BAMREF Show. Remember, we want your contributions. Send us your videos, send us your takes on the big stories and the big talking points from the match action of the weekend and of the week. We are back next Monday. Joel will be with me, and we'll have another guest in the chair. We hope you'll join us too.